do that.
Okay, so the January 26th, 2021 meeting of the Larkspur Planning Commission is now in session. And I guess I'm supposed to go through and see, is there anybody out there with that you can tell, or?
The first item of business is roll call.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say if anybody's having trouble, they should email the city.
I have 3 attendees right now.
Okay. So I would like to call, make a call for the roll call. Is that Kristen or is that Neil or?
I'll go ahead and I'll start from my top to bottom with Commissioner Tauber.
Present.
Commissioner Swisher.
Present.
Commissioner Chalmers.
Present.
Commissioner Kunstler.
Present.
And Chairman Wagstaff.
Present.
All are present.
So if there's anybody out there who would like to speak on something that's not on the agenda, please raise your hand.
I see no hands raised.
If
It
there-
appears that 3 attendees are for our public hearing item.
Okay. So why don't we have the staff report on the item that's being,
Do we have a planning director?
Director's report.
oh, yeah, planning director's report.
Yes, I'll give a brief report here. There's really, I really don't have much to report. We're working, again, continuing to work remote. The state of California has lifted the stay-at-home order. We're going back to phase purple. As we understand it, that will allow restaurant dining, outdoor dining to occur at restaurants, and limited indoor uses for personal services, subject to certain requirements by the state and health officer. So that's been reinstated. And other than that, we're just, kind of chugging along. And I'll be continue contact with, I've received some feedback from some of the commissioners on the general plan update format. And I'm gathering that. I'll gather from everybody what they need printed or not. I'll check in with the rest of you and then get that out before the end of the week or early next week. So that's it for me.
Okay, I would ask for the staff report on item 2041, 234 Magnolia Avenue.
Thank you. This application DRUP 2041 is for Perry's Restaurant in Larkspur. They are requesting to amend the governing permits for the outdoor dining that they currently have in the design review approval for that area to allow replacement of 13 portable heating units with 11 fixed gas-powered heaters. The heaters would be mounted on the building wall and on poles around the patio as depicted in the proposed plan. The existing permit for the outdoor dining was authorized in 1972, and the area out there has been used for outdoor dining since that time. Proposed modifications of the patio area would be limited to heater installation only. No other alterations or enclosures or roofing or anything is proposed, simply the heating installation. As part of this proposal, the applicant has voluntarily proposed to amend the hours of operation for the patio use. Currently, they operate from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. as weather permits. He's offering to reduce the hours on Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., but Friday through Sunday would remain 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. The staff reports provided a detailed analysis of the zoning regulations and all the general plan policies and directives that we have related to this area in the Larkspur Historic Downtown, and has concluded that the proposal would be appropriate and compatible with those goals and directives. Staff's also determined the proposed use would not result in a significant change in the operation, as the patio is currently heated by 13 portable heaters. It will remain open to the elements and will not be roofed or enclosed. So the timeframes for when the patio remains usable will be largely the same. And the site is still subject to Title IX of our noise regulations. And anytime there is some activity that may exceed those noise regulations, the city would inform them of that. Further installation of the heaters would definitely create a more attractive and organized appearance than the 13 portable heaters. So we have provided you with findings and conditions of approval and have recommended approval of the application as proposed. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Kristen. Is the applicant or the applicant's architect here and would like to say something or make a presentation?
So any of you, there's 3 individuals here. If you raise your hand, I can, okay. So you need to unmute yourself, Perry.
Before we do get to the hearing, this is the planning director. Before we get to the hearing, thank you. Hold on, Perry. I want to let the commission know, we did receive a late mail. It came to a general mailbox yesterday evening. So I'm sending that to the commission and to Senior Planner Tyke, and we can put that up on the screen. It's a fairly short email after the public hearing. And the
We may
commissioners can
read it to
do that.
them just to be on the safe side too.
Do we need to enter that as a item?
I think it after the discussion, we can put it up and then you can acknowledge it as late mail.
Okay. So Perry is going to talk now.
Hi, yeah, I'm here, happy to speak. I don't know why the video. I'm such a handsome fellow. I don't know why the video is not showing. Is Stephen Hall and Stephen Hall is our architect. Stephen, are you on this? Are you on this meeting?
He is, but we have to unmute him.
Okay.
Stephen, I have allowed you to talk. You need to unmute yourself.
Yes, I am.
If you'd like
Can
to
you hear
hear
me?
from him before I say anything, we can do that. Or do you want me to just go? How about I just go ahead?
That's fine, Perry.
Okay, well, the motivation behind this is to significantly
I'm silent.
improve the comfort level of our patio, which is a wonderful and very, very valuable asset of the restaurant at 234 Magnolia. And given the new grim circumstances that we live in, outdoor dining has become a critically important aspect of the restaurant industry everywhere, certainly for us and all other restaurants in Marin and around the city and around the country for that matter. And it's our considered opinion that situation is not going to change anytime soon. There's so much uncertainty with this virus and where it's going, how long it's going to last. We feel strongly that outdoor dining is going to be a critically important linchpin to the success of our business for years to come, because there are, even when things hopefully calm down and settle down, there's going to be a great number of people who are not going to feel comfortable dining indoors, which is troubling to say the least, but understandable. So in the interest of survival of this restaurant and our business, we want the patio to become comfortable, basically 365 days a year, absent rainy days. And this heater installation will aim a heater at every single table and allow people to feel warm and comfortable while they're dining, regardless whether it's right now in this grim cold weather or in the summertime when we wouldn't even have to use them. But Stephen Hall has come up with a really wonderful design. And Josh Klein will do the installation for us. And we feel like this is really a critical piece of our future success. It's not an inexpensive project, but we're willing to spend the money and invest in our future. We do have when we started 5 years ago, we had a 25-year lease window, so we're 5 years into it. And I probably won't be here at the end of the lease. My kids will. But this is a very important and long-term investment in the future of this restaurant. So that's the motivation. And that's pretty much the way I can put it.
Thank you. Stephen, did you want to add anything to that, or are you still there? I don't,
Stephen's muted. There we
Hello?
go.
Let's
There we
see.
go.
Okay. Sorry, it's new ear pods. Having a hard time. Sorry about that, Perry. No, I caught the tail end of what Perry said. I'm down with all that. I think the design looks great, and it's very executable. So I have nothing really to add on top of that. So
I did have a question for one or both of you. There's sort of a movement in Marin and Sonoma to, quote, electrify the county. And I'm wondering whether there is any reasonable electric alternative to the gas heaters.
I don't know if Josh is on, if he can speak to that. If there is, I don't even know if there's a load allowances for that kind of stuff. Generally, heaters like that are electrical are a pretty big draw, which is why they tend to be gas heaters and just through efficiency as well. But
Yeah, it was just more out of curiosity, since I get little missives from these people. So
Hey, Brock, I
thank you.
think those the electric heaters can draw, anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 watts. So if you think of that number times, 10, 15 of them, like Steve said, that's, we're getting into the near kilowatt type situation.
Yeah, no, I agree. Would anybody else like to, is there any other person in the audience that wishes to speak, or? You see anybody? Chris?
Yes, I have one more. Okay. Josh Klein, there you go.
Good evening. Yeah, I can let me speak on the electrical now. I'm Josh Klein. I was the original contractor on the project and was involved with Stephen Hall in the design and Perry with this project. And yeah, electrical is green, and we've been able to do that on a few projects, but we met with David Brown, or I met with David Brown, and it was not feasible for that kind of load. We were coming up with 3,000 per unit. And he didn't even think he could get us the electricity, let alone, who knows with the new transformer undergrounding, what that would entail. So we immediately went to natural gas, which is secondary to electric. But I guess my only other comment here tonight, and after reading the 13 pages, is from a safety issue. I think it's great to go natural gas. I have some fear of propane, and I think the fire department would also agree that that's just not a route that they want to continue over multiple years with that hazard. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the audience that you can see?
No, they were the only three.
In that case, I will pull it back for discussion, and I'll start
I have
with,
a question for the applicant.
Let me go back and unmute Perry. Okay, Perry, you need to unmute yourself.
Okay, I just did.
So I read the late mail. It's a neighbor who's basically concerned about fire. fire risks?
No, it just popped up on my screen, but I somehow was not able to read it.
So basically it's a neighbor who's concerned about the redwood trees that are surrounded and having needles that drop and fall on top of the heaters and fire risk. So I think that's a valid concern and just wondered, you know, what, if you thought about that and what you could do about it.
Well, the redwood trees that surround us and the needles that fall are everywhere but literally on the patio. There are other trees that surround the patio, but the redwood trees drop what they drop, which is considerable, in the front, over in the grove on the other side of the driveway, and all that. So, and we also maintain the patio daily. We sweep it and blow it every single day of any and all debris that falls, so that when we open up for business, that there is nothing on the ground. But literally the redwood debris is pretty much elsewhere and not on the patio. Goodness knows the worst thing in the world for us and anybody would be a fire. But we've not thought that was a real hazard, because we do go to great lengths to maintain the property in all respects. And speaking of the redwood debris, which is out in front, we have that cleaned up, daily and regularly. And it's, so I don't think these heaters would represent a fire danger because of that. And, the existing heaters throw off the heat that they throw. They just don't throw it off with propane as efficiently as these new ones will. So there's been heat present for the 5 years we've been open. We've never had an issue. So that's my best answer.
Yeah, I'm assuming that is the case because I know you have heaters out there. I've been there. So just wanted at least to publicly raise it as something that somebody was concerned.
Excuse me, if I can kind of prompt, I think the answer as well, if Stephen or Josh can respond to the design of these types of heaters. These are designed, I assume, as outdoor heaters, meant to not capture debris and such that's going to create a potential fire hazard. But I'm assuming that, and I'm kind of wondering if either of you can speak to that issue, because fire is obviously a great concern in the community, and we've going to have a lot of outdoor space heaters and such. And I'm just wondering if you have any comments on that from a design and mechanical point of view.
Oh, we're gonna have to let probably Josh speak.
Or Stevens.
Okay, Josh, you can unmute.
Okay, yeah, Neil. So obviously the units are AGA and UL approved. The heat source points down, and I guess the best way to, first of all, the fire code, ANSEL, I don't think could be applicable in this case, but a fire suppression system, i.e. live water, which is already in the building, would be code inside, or a 4-foot overhang. So from a code standpoint, it's not applicable, but from a fire source, this almost acts like I don't know if you'll know it, it's an IC rated can light. It has protection around it, and then the heat source is pointed downward at an angle, maybe not perfectly downward, but needles can't drop on that heat source. It vents out the back, and then there's a stainless steel enclosure. It does get hot, but I don't believe it gets to the point of ignition. And I could find that out, but these heaters are everywhere, I assume around the world, definitely in America. Sunpack is a huge company, and it's approved in this use with trees around, without trees in some applications, but I feel very confident that they will not be a fire source.
Thank you, Josh. Are there any other comments? If not, I'm going to bring it back to the commission and ask Commissioner Swisher to begin with his thoughts.
There we go. So I am in favor. I think it's a really nice design. Propane from a leak standpoint is cleaner than natural gas if unburned, but natural gas is mostly made up of methane, which is pretty much about 80 times more polluting if it was released without burning than propane. But burned, it's equal carbon dioxide, and it's very, I think it's reasonably environmentally safe. I think it's going to make the environment much nicer there at Perry's, and I think it's going to lend a nice aesthetic to the place. So I'm all in favor.
Commissioner Chalmers?
Yes, thank you. Yes, I agree actually with Commissioner Swisher. I think it's a really nice design. I think it works really well. I did have questions on the safety even before I saw the late mail, but I'm satisfied with the answer I heard today on this call. And I'm sure that the folks at Perry's are very keen not to have their restaurant burned down. So I'm sure they're making fire safety a high priority. So I'm in favor of this too. Thank you.
And Commissioner Kunstler.
Thank you. I support the application. That's pretty much all I need to say.
Okay. And ex-chair Tauber, I was giving you last as you're always almost last. But...
Okay. I too support the project. I think it makes a lot of sense to me, and it's probably less dangerous than what is there today, which are these unattached burning propane tank heaters. And I really do agree with them. I'm sure that it is critical to being able to stay in business for the foreseeable future during the pandemic. So I enthusiastically support this.
And I also do. I think it's going to be nice, and it's wonderful to sit out there on the patio, as we probably all have done it a year ago or so, or maybe even sooner. I did have one thing that I wanted to mention, and it was mentioned early in the staff report that not be any canopies or tents or coverings. And I'm wondering if we want to make that a condition of approval, or if we can just let it go as it has been in the past. If anybody has any thoughts on that.
If there were to be, any kind of a covering, wouldn't that be the subject of a separate approval?
Well, we required an amendment for the heaters, so if they wanted a permanent covering, they would have to get an amendment for that as well.
So we wouldn't need to add a condition to this, because any kind of project to cover this would require the applicant to come back to the planning department. Is that correct?
That's correct. And the only advantage to putting it there is just to make it very upfront and clear that that's the case.
The other thing I note too is any temporary types of tents do require fire department approval. And they look at heat sources, any kind of heating and how that's arranged within the tent. They have standards for that. And I would note that the fire department actually did review this application and did not have comments or conditions. They were aware of the proposal.
I'm okay with not doing it as a condition. I just wanted to know whether that seemed like a good idea. If they have to come back anyway, and they've had plenty of opportunities and reasons to put canopies up in the past, so it hasn't happened. So I'm very supportive. Would somebody like to make a motion?
I will. move approval of design review conditional use permit 20-41 for 234 Magnolia Avenue for Perry's as laid out by the staff in the staff report.
I have the honor to second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that's taken care of. I guess we need to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Well, okay, I'll move to approve the minutes from the meeting of January 12th, 2021.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any planning commissioner reports? Okay, I guess,
Can I note one thing for the commission as kind of a report? If you remember a few months back, the commission did approve an ordinance expanding the duties, sort of handing certain types of projects over to the zoning administrator, including certain second story additions. And I think recently, I didn't mean to send you sort of some detail on this, but Krista, as a zoning administrator, has approved one second story addition, and then I think had maybe two, one over 20 feet, or you're cut off.
I was afraid I'd start coughing, so I muted myself. I think I've only approved one, Neil, and one's coming up on the next meeting.
And then we did have a permit for an addition within 20 feet of height, so that was one other thing. So we're seeing a little bit of that come into play.
okay, anybody else?
No, I see one attendee, Perry Butler, with a hand raised. I don't know if that's just something that
How come I can't see
That's
that?
still from before.
is that just from before and it's.
And not do it? I thought I lowered his hand.
Oh, okay.
He's still here. Should we ask?
I don't know if you have something to say, or
Ask.
is that over and we.
Unmute him, ask if he has a question or something.
Okay, Perry, if you unmute yourself, would you tell us if you had a question still or not? I think
He
he
just
fell
left it on
off
maybe.
it. Perry Butler, are you still there?
He's
I
muted.
think he
No,
didn't.
okay.
All right.
Somebody like to move for adjournment?
I move to adjourn.
I'll
And I can second.
Big hard decisions. All
All
those
in
in
favor?
Aye.
All right.
I